And in this episode of the Happy Hustle Podcast, boy, do we have a doozy, because Mr. Dan Martell is rocking the mic with us. He is dropping so much hot fire on the mic, all about how you can buy back your time. We're going to be diving into this episode of the Happy Hustle Podcast. Do you want blissful balance in your personal and professional life? Great. What's up, guys? My name is Kerry Jack, and I want to help you happy hustle a life you love, one full of passion, purpose, and positive impact. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, a professional model / actor, a digital marketing specialist, a podcast host, author, a biohacker, an eco-warrior, a martial artist, a hippie cowboy, and a humanitarian. My goal is to educate, inspire, and entertain you to live a life of passion, purpose, and positive impact. It is time to happy hustle your dream reality. Yee-yee. All right, Mr. Dan Martell, welcome to the Happy Hustle Podcast, my brother. I am super stoked to rock the mic with you.
Kerry, it is an honor, and I'm setting an intention. I know you've had some incredible guests, but my intention is this is the best podcast that you've ever had. I know it's setting the bar high, but I'd rather start with that, call the shot, and see what comes from it. But it's an honor and super appreciated.
Thank you, bro, man. I appreciate that. And I love to, Babe Ruth call our shot and just add as much value as possible. Now, Dan, you are a serial entrepreneur. You're a speaker, you're an author, you're a podcaster, you're just so many different things, a SaaS founder, but you're a happy hustler. That's for damn sure, through and through. And I'm excited to just talk about your new book, Buy Back Your Time, as well as just, the man behind the book. But before we get into all that good stuff, Dan, what's something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
People following me on the internet would probably assume that I'm always going. Honestly, anybody that reads the book, they're gonna read my frameworks around kind of allocation of focus. I think they would be surprised to learn that I actually do weird, dumb things too. Like my guilty pleasure, if I'm just trying to turn my brain off, is watching Real Housewives.
Oh,
nobody knows that. Oh, like legit season binging. Like I can argue with you all the different ones, which one's better, what seasons. Again, I've never shared that publicly, but yeah, when I do watch TV, which is not that often, I'm a fan of reality TV.
Okay, fair enough. I feel like you would like the show Alone, right? That's good reality TV. Have you seen that?
Dude, I haven't even watched it because I'm still Real Housewife, and I'm not that's how big of a fan I am. I don't even venture into other genres because I just find it so ridiculous. And I think it's because it allows me just to turn my brain off and just sometimes it does feel like it's going. So that's why.
Yeah. Well, hey, we each have our guilty pleasures. I know mine is pastries. So, to each their own. Anyway, man, I'm excited. Yeah, right. I'm excited to talk about your book. First and foremost, let's hit it off with a bang. Tell us why you wrote this book.
Yeah, I wrote it specifically to help friends of mine, business owners that are in every industry, from agency owners to plumbing companies to sign. My best friend owns a sign company. My brother's a home builder. Like my creative friends that have podcasts that put out a ton of content. I wanted to show them how to build a company they don't grow to hate. Because the biggest risk to any business, it's not the economy, it's not your bank, your investors, your partners. It's literally the CEO deciding, I don't want to do this anymore. That's why I wrote it.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people, they build themselves a job and they're like shackled to their companies. And this is like an ever-growing issue. I talk a lot about entrepreneurial burnout, and this is a part of the conversation 100%. When you build something that you grow to hate, is this something in your opinion that it kind of manifests over time, or is it like it starts early on where you're building yourself a company that's maybe not aligned properly?
It's the decision that people make around allocation of resources. I'm a software guy, so I'm going to try to not use like technical terms, but that's just my world. Here's the philosophy. The buyback principle states you don't hire people to grow your business. You hire people to buy back your time. Because if you don't, you can get the first, but you don't get the second, right? So it's a calendar over capacity problem. And the methodology that I share is this framework called the buyback loop, right? Anytime you start to feel pain in your calendar, okay, what I call the pain line, then you should immediately go to the methodology, which is audit, transfer, fill, right? Audit your calendar for time and energy, things you're doing that are very low cost to have other people do for you, and anything that takes your energy. And once you understand what those are, and I teach people this in the book, then you put that into a bucket, and that is the only person you're allowed to hire. Okay, you're not allowed to hire somebody to, do your social media, whatever. You're not allowed to hire people to write more code or design more logos or all this until you actually understand, because that's where people make the mistakes. Like, I literally had a friend yesterday. He's like, I read your book and I'm hiring a social media manager. And I go, you don't have an executive assistant. Why are you hiring a social media manager? They're like, well, I go, you didn't, because there's a cost to it, right? So I talk about the buyback rate, trying to understand what the value is of your time, and then using the buyback rate to get rid of anything in your, and literally it's a mathematical equation. I share this all the time. At, $1 million company is not built off $10 tasks, right? And I want you to have the space, as you can appreciate, the happy hustlers listening, that we need to be able to recover and recharge and create space to be present and disconnect and live the life. I mean, most people start businesses to have freedom, and then they wake up one day and they're literally successful. They climb the ladder and they get to the top and they go look around and they go, oh darn, I meant to lean it against that wall. Well, that's a big departure to come down and rebuild that thing. So that's what happens. People just don't have the right sequencing of hiring, and it creates this pain line.
Yeah, you mentioned something. I just want to echo the point. Like, your first hire, you talk about it, executive assistant. Like, that was one of the most pivotal hires of my entire, life. I'll go to say, like, shout out to Connie, who's listening probably. She's an absolute rock star and a lifesaver. And I think you have to understand, first and foremost, what's your time worth, right? As you talked about that rate, that buyback rate. And I know you have an equation to actually calculate it. Can you just run through it briefly for the happy hustlers?
I will. Carrie, I also understand I'm asking people to do math and I lose half the crowd. So follow along, people. We're gonna get through it quick.
Here we go.
It won't hurt too much. But essentially you take your income, okay, and the income in the book is your salary, your profit, and discretionary expenses. Because let's be honest, right? There's stuff we don't want to pay the tax man, so we put it through our business. But it's still not needed to run the business, but it's an income, right? And you take that number. And there's two divisions. The first one is 2,000, because that's the average amount of hours a normal person works per year. Okay. When you take weekends and holidays. So that's just a simple number. Now that tells you how much you produce every hour of value, right? Now divided by 4, because I want everybody to get a 4 times ROI on their buyback, meaning that you don't pay somebody $50 an hour because you're $50 an hour. Your buyback rate's $12.50, meaning that anything you're doing in your life, you could pay somebody $12.50 or less. You're like, there's a mathematical proof that you're not building the right way, right? Because you start there, get rid of that stuff out of your calendar, and then reinvest, which is the fill. So audit, transfer, fill is the buyback loop. And you fill up your calendar now with things that will make you more money. And it literally, when I'm Carrie, does that make sense? Because some people, it's like, oh, now I get it. Because I want you to maximize the amount. If you're only going to work 30 hours a week, great. Just work on 30 hours a week of things that make you the most money possible.
Yep.
Until you max that out, then, and I have a whole framework called the replacement ladder. Yeah. Then you have to replace yourself. And to create the space to then go up the value chain, right? Become more valuable to the market. And that's where we can talk about, like, the executive assistant, then customer success or delivery, fulfillment. Then we talk about marketing and sales and then leadership. And that's the way I think about it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I even look at this before I read your book. This is something that I think about. Okay, what is the highest value use of my time right now? And oftentimes, I'm not doing it. So I have to like reassess and like pivot on the fly, because we all have those, $100,000 an hour tasks, the $10,000 an hour task, $1,000, the $10 an hour task that we get caught up doing in the minutia. And that's what's just holding you back from living your dream reality oftentimes is because you're getting caught up doing the things that you shouldn't be doing. This rate that you just calculated, walk us through
buyback rate. Yeah.
The buyback rate. So you take your salary, how much you make, divided by 2,000 income.
It's salary, it's and profit. Yeah.
Yep.
It's what you pay yourself, which is, whatever in Canada, it's called a T4. I think it's, what is it? W2, right?
Oh, W2. Yep.
K1. Yeah. W2, K1. Distributions would be profit, right? So like if you want to take at the end of the year, and then discretionary expenses, the extra stuff, the car payment, the whatever, like you don't really need it to run the company, but you put it in because you don't want to pay taxes.
Yeah.
And then once you know that number, so like if that number is 100,000 a year and you do the math, it works out to $12.50.
Got it.
Then the key is, and it's funny because you brought this up, and I want to, again, this is where I think the distinction is lost sometimes. People go the opposite sometimes, where there's something they don't want to do, so they pay somebody $100 an hour to do it, but they're only at $50 an hour of like value per hour, and their buyback rate's $12.50. So they're not even aware that they're making a very bad time trade in entrepreneurship. And it took me a long time to learn this. I've been building companies for 25 years. I run 2 8-figure companies as CEO. I've built and exited companies. I coach literally 3,000 software CEOs. Anybody in internet marketing that has a software product, I've coached them, from Russell to Alex Hermosi with Alan, and the other Alex that just sold Hyros for 110 million. Like, those are my clients, right?
Yeah.
And this is what I teach them. It's in a very, for me, a baseline kind of approach, because I want to show people how do you scale and actually have more free time.
Yeah.
So if you don't break these rules, it's impossible for you to grow your business and not have more time, because it requires you to buy back your time at each stage and then reinvest it in things that will create more value. And now a lot of those things are typically skill sets, beliefs, or character traits. Okay. Skill sets is in strategy. It's like, but I don't know how to do marketing that generates leads per week, per month, to meet my needs as a business, right? Great. Go invest in that. So when you buy back your time, once you get to the point where the doing of the thing that people pay you for is like 30 hours a week in your calendar, then you're buying back. When you hire somebody to do that work, now you've got to go figure out, okay, I'm going to buy back 10 hours of that, and I'm going to go work on learning how to be the person who can solve that problem. Unless you get to a place where you can just hire a CEO. And that's kind of where I'm at now. But I've been, again, 25 years of like doing this. So I get people are like, yeah, but that's not me.
Yeah.
Now I buy a company, I hire a CEO. Why? That's the ultimate buyback, right? But my rate is, and it becomes a game, right? You start at $12.50. It's like, hey, in the next 12 months, can you get it to 25? Can you get it to 50? Can you get it? But the truth is, and you know them because you said that to me once, you said, I know a lot of rich people that are not happy. I know a lot of people, their buyback rate's $6,000, and they still do things that are literally $10 tasks, and then complain that they don't have time to go watch their kids this, or go to the gym, or date night, or whatever.
Yeah. Ooh. I mean, this is like a light bulb moment, I hope, for everyone out there listening, because this is some gold right here, Dan. And I mean, you have been in the game 25 plus years. What the heck you're talking about. And I hope all the happy hustlers take this and actually do the equation and figure out their buyback rate. And if you want to take it a step further, just get the damn book and just really dive deep into the principles, because that will actually help you get unstuck and reclaim your freedom. When I look at freedom, I talk about creative freedom, financial freedom, and time freedom. Like, there's 3 freedoms that I focus on. For you, I'm just thinking, you have financial freedom, you have time freedom. When we're looking at creative freedom, what do you love to do with your time the most now, where you're at, given this state?
Yeah, it's fascinating, because the subtitle of my book is and build your empire. It's the 3rd bullet, right? Get unstuck, reclaim your freedom, build your empire. And that word freaks people out. because some people are just like, I like being a solopreneur, a freelancer, a creative, etc. And I get it. I actually wrote the book. It was a very tough challenge to write a book that would absolutely serve the creative individual. Like a lot of my friends are content creators. A lot of my friends are, boutique entrepreneurs, and I love them for it. And they're artists and they're craftsmen. I wanted to show them that they could do more of that and create something potentially in the future that would be valuable to somebody else. Because I think that if we don't build a business that you could sell, then essentially like a business that you could sell is a great business to own and run. That's my philosophy, right? And these are just decisions once you understand how to do it. What I do with my time, because, and I share that because my wife asked me once, she said, like probably a decade ago, she goes, what do you think retirement looks like? And we were on the beach somewhere in the world, in the BVI's, I think. And I looked around and I said, you're looking at it? Like, no, but like when we're retired. And I'm like, I want to do what I do. I love collaborating and creating with people that are intelligent. Literally this morning at 6 a.m., I'm on a call. Now, normally I don't do anything until like 11. Like I don't do any meetings in the mornings. I just create. But the reason why I was on a call at 6 a.m., I was creating with one of my lead coaches on a new framework that I'm pumped to release. So, because he even said, he goes like, I read your book. Don't you think you should be buying back your time from doing this meeting? I go, yeah, but I get why you would say that, but you don't realize that I love to do this more than honestly anything else. Like I love so a few things that are true with my time. I like to co-create with other people than myself. Yep. So that was there. And two, I like creating frameworks that I know will live on and serve thousands of people, which is exactly what we were doing, right? We were building this growth framework and just like really refining it and talking about the different options. And, it's product design, man. I'm like, I think what people need to understand, but the truth is I'm not going to want to do that for 14 hours a day either.
Yep.
Right. My like net new creative collaborative type of personally today is probably about 4 hours, 3 to 4 per day, where I'm like, feels good. I felt useful. I think as a human, we want to feel useful. So I felt creative, useful. And then I get to then shift and give to other people. And then I can feel fulfilled and, connected. And then I literally play hockey with my kids or we go snowboarding. But again, my output is so much higher because at a very young age, I made the decision, instead of buying the new BMW, I hired somebody to buy back my time. Like I live in a very affluent neighborhood. Okay. And my neighbors come over to our house and they see how my wife and I live, right? Like we have a house manager that takes care of everything. Okay. When I say everything, I haven't put gas in my car, gone to a grocery store, been to Costco, like anything that would require me to walk into a retail store, I've not done. And I don't say this to brag. I want people to understand, like, it's just for me, I don't want to do that because I know that if I do that, then I'm saying no. See, in the book, I talk about this. When you say yes to something, you're inadvertently saying no to something else. When I say yes to going to Costco for an hour and a half, I just said no to playing hockey with my 2 boys. So if I know my priorities, which I do, then I can reassess and I will make those time trades. There's 3 levels of trades. I forgot to mention that earlier. When you start off, it's employee, level 1, where you trade time for money, right? And you can be there and you can make the most highest paid employee in the world makes $122 million a year. And that's Tim Cook at Apple. So you can stay there. That's totally cool. Problem is that, now Tim has enough capital to get to level 3, but you can make 300 grand you can make a lot of money in the level 1. Most of us, a lot of the happy hustlers out there, they're now in the trade money for time category, right? That's entrepreneur, right? So first level is employee, second level is entrepreneur. And then if you get really good at that, become a really good trader, okay? World class, then you get to go to money for money, which is level 3, which is empire.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Apologies for interrupting your programming, but I got to tell you about something I'm super excited about. This is something very unique that we do at the Happy Hustle, and that is the Montana Mastermind Epic Adventures. See, you can listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos, read books, acquire all this knowledge, but I believe the best way to achieve ultimate success and fulfillment is to actually align yourself and connect with like-minded, badass, high-performing, heart-centered humans. And that's why it's important to go to masterminds. Now, whether you go to the Happy Hustle masterminds or you go to other ones, that's on you. But I got to tell you about the one that we're doing upcoming in March, the 22nd through the 26th, which is going to be so sweet, especially if you love snowboarding and skiing. If you're a high-performing male entrepreneur who's making over six figures, who wants to network with a rock star group of just badass world-class happy hustlers while shredding some pow, this may be for you. We have an amazing mountain mansion, which you could ski right into. We got a professional chef cooking up some delicious, healthy meals. We're going to be doing masterminds where we share wins and challenges and adversities and just how to overcome them. We're going to be soaking our bodies at natural thermal hot springs. We're going to be enjoying some super cool activities like ice fishing and hiking and campfires and other awesome stuff. And we're going to be digitally detoxing from our devices. That's most important. So if you're interested, hurry up and apply, because there is truly only a couple spots. This isn't like a tactic. We only have a couple spots left based on the number of beds in the mansion. So if you want in, you can go to thehappyhustle.com/mastermind. Okay. Now, and if you don't like skiing and snowboarding, no worries. We do have some amazing epic camping adventures coming up this summer. So check them out. If you like camping in the backcountry wilderness, if you want to learn primitive survival skills and fly fish and, dip in cold plunge, amazing alpine lakes and just hike up these remote mountain trails and really just connect with Pachamama, our beautiful planet. We do have these summer trips coming up too, which are filling up fast. So that's it. Let's get back to this episode, but I just wanted to let you know you can go to thehappyhustle.com/mastermind to apply today. All right, let's get back into it.
So 17 years ago, when I started producing, extra capital from my business, I started investing in other software companies. And that's why today I've invested in 50 plus. 4 of them are multi-billion-dollar companies, public, Udemy, Hootsuite, Intercom, like literally products that people use. Yeah. I just started a long time ago following this methodology, and that's why I'm so passionate about sharing it, because I really want people to understand that you can have both. You can have an incredible creative, because empire for me is a life of unlimited creation you never have to retire from. That's my definition of empire.
Amen to that. I mean, employee, entrepreneur, empire. Just take stock right now, listening, wherever you're at, in this journey. Most of you probably are somewhere between the first and the second, right? And in order to get to that empire where you're trading money for money, you got to buy back your time. This has to be a part of the equation. And I think, you've put it in such a simplistic format. It's not easy, right? But how you broke it down, it's simple to execute, right? And I think that's what's really like why this book has been taken off like a wildfire. I mean, you're already bestseller on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, you said. It hasn't even launched yet, which is, I'm proud of you, man. That's amazing. Like, for whatever my prowess is worth, it's just, that's impressive. And I think when you strike a chord with people, we're so inundated now with our devices and our schedules and our meetings that are really just pointless oftentimes, like meetings just for the meeting's sake. I find a lot of my entrepreneur, CEO friends, they just meet just for the hell of it. And it's not really productive. We get so inundated with our schedules. And then oftentimes what gets set aside is the things that we care the most about: our family, our friends, our passionate hobbies, doing the things that fill our cup. I'm curious for you, how do you create that blissful balance, both personally and professionally? Do you have a system that you could share that potentially the happy hustlers could follow?
Yeah, it's later in the book, I talk about the idea of the perfect week. And so there's 3 tools that I use that I talk about, and I promise the book does not read like a university textbook. Okay. I'm a systems thinker and I design models and frameworks, but I'm also, in the book, I did a lot of research, storytelling, belief busting. And so like the way I ensure that I'm living the highest quality of life is, one, I designed my perfect week a long time ago, and I reiterate all the time, probably once every 4 months. I'm like sitting down with my executive assistant and we're like going through, because there's just seasons, right? Like last year I did 3 Ironman, which required 20, sometimes 20 plus hours of training a week. So there's seasons in your life that you have to just reassess. This year I'm doing Beast Spartan and a 50K Ultra. So like, you know, I'm an active CEO. Like this is what I don't want people to think that I'm not in it. Like I'm an operator first and foremost. Like I build companies. So active CEO of 2 companies and, you know, combined employees, about 150 across the 2 companies. And I'm, you know, a pretty high level athlete. Now, I didn't grow up that way at all, as you know, my backstory, which I start at the beginning of the book. It's kind of crazy. And we share, I think, some of that colorful childhood. Yes. And I also am incredibly intentional about the relationship I have with my wife and my kids. You know, but the way I do that is I take the ingredients that I need in my life and I put them into the perfect week. That creates the scaffolding. Because you know, the vision that I want to create, like I'm very clear of where I want to be in 25 years and 10 years using the 10X vision map. Again, a framework I teach in the book. I know what I'm aiming at. And then I use this thing called the preloaded year. And I feel like it's just a big commercial for my book. But I mean, Carrie, I hope you can appreciate, like, when I sat down to write this, I literally wrote down the 25 people in my life that I cared about the most that were business owners that I saw struggling at different stages of their journey and use them to guide the book. So I know that these are the areas that people struggle with. That's why I put it in there, right? Like if you don't have a vision, if you don't have a template for your executive assistant to leverage, to use, to understand, or even your team for the perfect week, and if you don't put the big rocks into your year, then a lot of this stuff will not work, right? So like the preloaded year, for example, my wife and I sit down at the beginning of the year. She's an entrepreneur as well. She has an incredible company that helps entrepreneurs get on podcasts and outbound press and stuff. And so we sit down and we go over her desires for like events she wants to go to, personal company stuff, any vacation, like other families she wants to spend time with, and she's talked to like other people about. And I bring my list. You know, I do 3 major events a year for my clients. I do a lot of boys, like literally I do an annual mountain bike trip, an annual snow biking trip, an annual cat skiing trip. We do like literally we did about 2.5 months of travel last year. So like we take all of that and we put it into the preloaded year. It's a 1-page document. And we do that so we can look at it and stress test it. Right. Because here's what I learned, Carrie, is a lot of people create emotional shrapnel that they got to deal with because they're not that intentional about their life. And then they make commitments to other people that they then have to backtrack on. Sometimes the worst time it's to their family members, and it can be avoided, you know, like you literally, we just talked about something you're working on that you're like, hey, can you do this? And I just opened up my preloaded year and I'm like, sorry, I can't, I'm already committed. Right. Yeah. For this year, like I'm literally booking into probably not 24 months into the future ish. Right. There's like, this year's pretty like settled. And then next year's kind of fluid. And that's the way we do it. We just like, all my friends are like, hey, we want to do this. We want to do this. Or I have ideas. I want to do this. I want to do this. And I just put it in a list. And when we plan our year, we look at the list and we just like start plopping it in and seeing how does it feel. We like step back and actually use like an energetic filter of stress testing it. Like, okay, we're coming back for 2 weeks being on vacation here. And then you want to go do this with one of our kids. Like, is that think about the headspace you're going to be in. Is that feel good, right? Like example, I used to do a vacation before my events. Well, as you know, anybody that like creates experiences for people, the week before, like you're not in a check out vacation mode. You're like worried that, oh, did we get the signs printed? Did we get did the person get the calendar invite? Did the hotels get confirmed to the speak or whatever, right? So now what I do is literally, because I understand this pattern, having looked at our preloaded year for a long time now, all of our family vacations are immediate. Like when I say right after, I'm off stage at Friday after our dinner for one of my groups, and I'm on the red eye heading to Croatia to jump on a super yacht that I've chartered with 14 of my friends. Talk about quality of life. I integrate life. Like I'm going on a yacht with 14 other families that I love, that live all over the world, that we've intentionally decided we want to live life as our family units and share that. So we're doing this. My wife and my kids are flying there the day before, and then I'm going to meet them. So like, that's how, when people look, and they go, how does he get so much done? I just don't have dead space, right? And I talk about bleed time in the book, and that's just, those are some of the things that I think are very unique and different perspectives that I think people might consider just double clicking on and seeing if it's something you want to consider.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned intentionality, and that is such a catalyst when you are very intentional with your day, your week, your month, your year. You really start to increase the quality of your life and ultimately your happiness and fulfillment in the process. But Dan, I do know there was a time where you prioritized solely work, and your relationship with your fiance actually suffered, and you ended up not getting married and having to really reassess. And now I know you're very intentional with your wife and your kids. And for a lot of happy hustlers out there, I think this is an important topic to just, dive into. For me, I'll just tell you, I recently got married last year, and
congrats.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's it's something I don't want to have all the success and the money and the status and all those things, but then lose my family and my friends and especially my marriage in the process, or my relationship with my kids. And I think that's oftentimes the trade-off that people think. You got to grind, you got to hustle, you got to do all, work late and get up early. Like, I just am so anti that culture, because I once was there. I was a tech entrepreneur. Just, I don't know if you know much about my backstory, but I was in New York City grinding my face off, working like a dog, super unfulfilled. Ended up folding that company and moved to Bangkok, Thailand for about a year, and figured out a better way to put the happy in my everyday hustle. And I want to just hear, like, when you mentioned being intentional with your wife, what does that look like? And maybe if you could give us like a tactical tip or tool when it comes to something that you recommend that you've gotten value from when it comes to being intentional with your wife or your spouse or your family.
So many things. Yeah. I mean, one, we have an annual commitment to do some kind of seminar for our marriage.
Awesome.
So last year was Date with Destiny. We've done so many different things. I mean, even last year, one of the areas we brought in our coach. We have a family coach that we work with, Brooke, and we flew her up. She's from California. We flew her up to Canada to live in our home for 3 days, to literally wake up and audit my wife and I's interaction with our kids.
Wow.
To meet our kids. I mean, it's, again, there's levels to this, and
exactly. That's next level.
I share this because I know it's unique, but I want to hopefully inspire people. Like, it doesn't start with that, right? You can just do something simple, like a weekend getaway or night event, that's just about building a deeper relationship. So that's annual. We do a weekly family meeting that I think people should consider. I would invite people to consider, where we have a structure that we do it. And we ask ourselves questions like, rosebud thorn kind of level for, what am I doing good? What is something I could improve upon? And what's something that you saw me start doing that you want to recognize, right? Like for each other, weekly. So That's cool. Cause I just saw a lot of my friends that got divorced. It's cause they had a fracture in their relationship and then it grew too big to reconcile, right? Like a lot of my friends that got divorced, it was a solvable problem when it was small, right? You want to eat the monster when it's little, not when it becomes a freaking giant. And then, I mean, the amount of stuff is we do a lot of stuff. We have family values, so we worked with, we've had them for a long time, but we refined them last year with Chris Smith from the Family brand.
Oh, cool.
So what's unique about that process this time versus when we had them 7 years ago when we started is we involved our children. So the family values this round are co-created with our two boys. What other stuff do we do for marriage? Oh, our quarterly retreats. So every quarter, no different than the rhythm you would do hopefully in your business. We go away for 2 nights. So usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we look at our lives through the same lens, honestly, that we look through our business because it's a pattern that works, right?
Yeah.
And we look at our goals, our individual goals, our business goals. We look at our year and just make sure that we're still aligned with some of the decisions we made around travel and commitments. We talk about some of the bigger challenges that might have come up. We do nothing. Like we literally hang out and read and just be with each other. It's like disconnected adventure. We always try to pick cool places. Again, I know people starting off are saying, must be nice. I get it. I can either inspire people right now or I can irritate people. Like I get that. I hope I'm inspiring people because I'm not saying you have to like go away for 3 days. I'm just saying you can literally do a date night once a quarter with some intentionality, and it's probably better than what people are doing today. But like asking your parents or your friends to take your kids for the night and just give yourself your home for a couple days for you guys to do this, again, is a free option that anybody can do.
Yeah.
But again, it's the intentionality. So I could probably write a whole nother book on, because I've been willing to invest. See, that's the thing is because I buy back my time to invest in the things that are important to me. Right. I've experienced a lot of different teachings and seminars, best practices. I've had the privilege of working with some of the best coaches and therapists and like Esther Perel, and I almost feel like I have like a secret weapon in my marriage because I can't see a scenario that we wouldn't be able to get through because of just the caliber of people in the quote unquote mastermind we've built just for our relationship. Right. Yeah. So yeah, I hope that really inspires people. Cause like I think that's why I was really excited to chat with you about this is it's not about the business, like I talk about it in the book. I just want to share this story. Last chapter it's actually a bonus chapter I took out and my publisher asked me to put back, 7 Pillars of Life. And I open it telling a story about a friend that was absolutely crushed in their business, not going right. And they made a conscious decision to sit down with their wife and say, look, I know what I got to go do to fix this, but it's going to require me not being here in the morning. He had little kids. And probably I won't be back until after they go to bed. And it's going to take me a couple of years to turn this thing around. And he gets super emotional about it. Telling me this because, he's like, I did it for them. And I actually paused him and I said, but they never asked you for that. Like they never asked you to not be there. Right. Yeah. Like, I don't know what you were doing that, like, again, that's why this topic of trading time and valuing your time and investing. And I want people that want to create their own empires to create. That's me. Like, I don't want to stop that. I don't want the artists out there to not feel like they can't do their art anymore. Right. If anything, I want to show you how to express that to the fullest freaking level. And the only thing stopping you, once you understand this, is you becoming better. And if you get that, then it's not that you can't have both. It's you just got to be better. And that might mean you got to learn some new skills, or you got to change your beliefs, or you got to integrate some habits into your character. Right. Yeah. And so don't say it's for your family and then blame your business. that's not what they want. And my kids don't give a crap what I do in my office, like zero.
Yeah.
They care that when they're telling me about their day, I'm watching, right? And I'm actually there. And when they go, hey, can you play hockey with us? I go, absolutely. And I'm going to crush them. Like I absolutely, like my kids have never, they're actually getting pretty good. But you know, like, and this all comes from my own personal story of like pain and frustration and failure. And like, that's the thing. I hope nobody thinks I'm sitting up here on a high chair or whatever, trying to preach down. Like I literally made every one of the mistakes that I help people in the book overcome personally. And I've had the privilege of helping thousands of software CEOs avoid making these mistakes. And I've never shared any of the stuff in the book because that's not my lane. I coach high performing CEOs of software companies, but it got to a place where I had to write this book.
Yeah.
Like commercially, it's so funny because people are like, why didn't you write a software book? I'm like, that wasn't the one that I wanted. That wasn't what was on my heart. My heart was writing a book that I could share with a friend. And if they felt compelled enough to want to open it up, that I would show them just a different belief system. Like it's a fundamentally different approach to building a life and a business.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Preach
passionate
it, brother.
about.
Woo! I love it, man. I mean, there was some absolute fuego in there. So I hope everyone pauses and just rewinds and goes back. I just want to echo a couple points. Family values, having, you know, your marriage commitment, just like reinstilled every single year. You guys go on a retreat together, a family coach, weekly family meetings. That's something I do every Sunday with my wife. I do the 3 questions. What should I stop doing? What should I start doing? What should I keep doing? And we answer those for one another. And that's been huge. We also have a love calendar where we track our days and our love score 1 to 10 in each of our, you know, and if, you know, there's plentiful pleasure and sex and, you know, we went to dinner and it was a great time, it was close to a 10. If we were just at each other's throats and didn't get along, it's a 4. And then at the end of the month, we look at and we average our scores and we see really where we're at in the health of our marriage. So these are stuff that, like, I think what you measure, you can manage, and it really does make a big impact. Now, you mentioned software as a service, and that's like your bread and butter. I'm really interested in this space. I want to just kind of pull back the curtain just for a second. I have the Happy Hustle, 10 alignments of being a happy hustler. That's like my framework, chapters in the book, modules in the course, the whole shebang. I've been getting a lot of requests to take this framework that I teach entrepreneurs how to create blissful balance and instill it into the workplace, more B2B, where, you know, they say 2 out of 3 employees are disengaged and unhappy, right? And I've been playing, do I want to go in this like B2B realm? And like, are they going to accept my handlebar mustache? I don't know. You know, it's like, it's just like a whole nother realm to play B2B, as you know. What would you recommend to someone who is potentially going into the software as a service space? Is there any, you know, key mistakes that you would say, hey, watch out for this, or make sure you do that?
100%. And just to give context, like the top guys in the game, right? The big dudes with big smiles and big hands, all the way to the course creators that you guys buy their programs from. I get the call asking me that same question, Carrie. So because they want to build an app for their community, they want to, you know, the B2B market where they're getting pulled in. You know, they have 1 or 2 clients that are like, I want to bring this to my company. Here's the challenges. I'm going to get business nerdy on people right now, so I apologize.
Let's go.
But
don't apologize.
Like every okay, well then we'll go there. Every segment of a market that you want to go after has a different what's called a sales motion, right? So a sales motion for a, you know, individual CEO or entrepreneur looks completely different than a sales motion that sells to even a CEO at a bigger company. Right? Bigger company meaning, let's call it employee size. So like if you currently sell to people that predominantly have, you know, less than 50 employees, that process is different than selling to a company with 500 employees. Okay. A real simple example. 50 employees, you're going to probably talk to the CEO to make the final decision. 500, it's a person in a role at the company. 50 employees, the CEO can make the decision right away. 500 employees, they got to wait for quarterly planning, annual budgeting. and a whole lot of software and a whole lot of compliance stuff and a whole lot of security audits and so it's like, can you do it? Probably. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Maybe not, right? Like what I would say is unless you really feel out of all the other options to kind of get your message out there and to monetize your IP, this is the one that feels most aligned with your vision, the least amount of effort to reward in regards to the ability to monetize. And when you fast forward, and again, you're climbing that ladder of success and you're successful, like what does that kind of company look like, right? It has a sales team. It's got a big engineering team. Like it has requirements for things like, do I want to run that? Those are the questions I usually ask my friends that give me the call that are in your scenario, because it's easy to get intoxicated or in love with that idea, because it's like, oh, now instead of selling one-to-one, I'm selling one-to-many. But again, the sales cycles are 12 to 16 months versus 2 to 3 weeks, right? So it's possible, but again, and then there's product market fit on just like, you're right. If you're selling to a 500 person company, is there enough CEOs that care enough about authenticity and integrity to care less about your handlebar mustache versus the ones that are like, well, no, if we're buying, because dude, when they buy solutions, it's like they put you in a lineup of 6 other products and there's check boxes and they're going, okay, we want a tool that increases employee engagement. So we've got 7 different vendors. We've got Gartner. We've got Stephen Covey. We've got, Carrie, and then what features do they have? Well, they have a module for this. And I'm dude, that's the world that B2B sales process lives in. Possible, totally. But you just gotta ask yourself what kind of, what kind of empire do you want to build? Yeah,
very great points. I love the sales motion. That's a very important concept. Just understanding the sales cycle and like really what it takes to acquire new customers. And you also mentioned the product market fit. This is for all the happy hustlers out there too. Just think about your current product or service and where it fits. And for me, it's also like, what does success actually look like for you? Right now, man, I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur working typically 20 hours a week, and I feel very blessed. Now, could I have a bigger impact and really give to more people and could create if I worked harder? Yes, absolutely. I'll be the first one. But, I do think it's really important to ask yourself, like, what does success look like for you? And is this a part of the equation? So this is some gold, Dan. I love it, man. I want to urge everyone to get a copy of the book and then, kind of run through the rapid fire round questions, if I may. But just remind everyone, where's the best place to go pick up a copy?
So it's available at all retailers, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, in stores, whatever's your favorite. But I would recommend people go to buybackyourtime.com because there you'll be able to download the workbook. So the book, again, is very story-based and research and belief, and it's a super fun read. But there's some exercises that I want to give you the answers to the test on, and those are on the download page at buybackyourtime.com. So be sure to go there as well, and it'll redirect you to the retailer.
Cool. Buybackyourtime.com. We'll link it up in the show notes too. Now, Dan, I do like to ask all my guests just 3 questions when it comes to happy hustling. I like to call these happy hustle hacks. Maybe a tip, a tool, a tactic in a couple different disciplines. First being health. I know health's a priority for you. Give us a quick happy hustle hack regarding health, something that you do that's unique.
What do I do? You're putting me on the spot, Carrie, because I do a lot of stuff. I'm trying to think of the one. I don't make decisions about my food, so that's an easy one. So I have a meal plan. My house manager executes it. But here's one that's unique: is my executive assistant. If I'm eating out, she goes and looks at the menu and puts my meal in the description of the invite for that eating. So I don't have to. So I don't get a menu. When they're like, hey, what would you like? I don't open the menu. And then I just open up my calendar and the decision's already there because it's lean and mean, greens, protein, dressing on the side 100% of the time. So love it. That would probably help people. Yeah.
Boom. That's fuego. Let's talk about money. I know you've made a bunch. I know you've probably lost some. When it comes to money, and we're especially this unique time in history, I think like there's a lot of opportunity right now, especially. Do you have a happy hustle hack when it comes to, making or spending or saving more money or investing it wisely?
How about the idea that it's easy to make it and it's hard to keep it? I think that's the most important one. So how do you keep it? One of my mentors a long time ago said to me is every time you make money, because like I build companies and sell them and invest in companies. So I get like windfalls of cash. Half of it goes into stupid, boring stuff. We're talking like index funds and real estate, like just this, like rock solid. And then the other half for me goes into more risky things, but still in my lane. I don't leave my lane. Yeah. I know what I do well. It's software. I invest in software companies. I have an unfair advantage there. And I think that's probably going to serve people the most is I think they make money and then they immediately, I got to make it work for me. It's like, no, you should take half, lock it in, never look at it. And then the other half, you can be a little bit more risky with it.
Sage advice, brother. Let's talk about spirituality. Something that you do to connect to a higher power. I'm big into faith and prayer and God, but for someone out there, I don't really care what religion you are or anything. In my opinion, I think it's important to have faith a part of the everyday decision and just your routine. Do you have a way that you tap into a higher power? Maybe a spiritual happy hustle hack that you could share?
I could write another book on that itself because I have some very unique things. I'll give you the one that I think is the most, minimum effective dose. Several times throughout the day, whatever happens, okay, and I'm talking like I'm out snow biking and my buddy gets his truck stuck. I immediately ask myself this question: how can I appreciate even more God's grace and guidance in this moment? How can I appreciate even more God's grace and guidance in this moment? Anytime I feel self-doubt come into my heart, how can I appreciate? And man, I probably say this to myself 20 plus times a day. And it just, every time I ask myself that question, I just look around and just like, how cool is this? Like, this is awesome. And dude, it just reframes my focus. It keeps me connected to my God. And I really hope that serves people.
Oof, that's powerful, man. I love that. Now, Dan, I do want to put you through the rapid fire round and then we'll wrap this interview up. This is where I ask you random things and you just answer honestly, first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Okay. I am
favorite
ready.
Food. Favorite food.
Sushi.
Favorite
Sushi.
Movie.
Good Will Hunting.
Favorite book.
Good to Great.
Favorite workout.
Burpees. Just do burpees.
What's your spirit animal?
Oh, Tasmanian devil.
Oh, I can see it. Best business advice.
It's hard to do a good deal with bad people, and it's hard to do a bad deal with good people.
Love that. 3 things you're most grateful for.
My wife, my kids, and my God.
Oof. And if you had a billboard for the world to see with your last piece of content on it, what's that billboard read, Dan?
The world rewards courageous decisions.
Love that. Damn. Crush that rapid fire round, man. And Dan,
I got lucky. You made me nervous, man. I was like, oh no.
No, you crushed it, man. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge you, man, and just for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom with myself and the Happy Hustlers. I mean, I just appreciate you showing up unapologetically yourself and sharing the buyback principles with the world. And just, I think, we didn't get into it, but you have a very inspiring backstory. And I think, coming from where you started to where you are now, it's just amazing, man. And you are an inspiration for me and for a lot of happy hustlers out there. So I just appreciate you, brother. And I'm looking forward to a lot of collaborations to come too.
I would love that, Kerry. It's an honor, man. Yeah. I appreciate it. And thanks everybody for listening. And find me on Instagram. Instagram's my jam, at Dan Martell, 2 L's of Martell. Message me, let me know what resonated. And if you do get the book, the only thing I ask is leave a review. It's how we create a movement. And it would mean the world to me if people do that.
Yep. Check it out, guys. Buybackyourtime.com. We'll link it all up in the show notes. Check out his Instagram. He's dropping amazing content on there on the regular. Now, Dan, final question. What does happy hustling mean to you?
It's pretty much the same definition of empire for me. It's creating from a place of, actually, it's creating from a place of pure give that supports your life. That.
Mic drop. Love it. Dan Martell, y'all. Thank you for watching and listening. We are out. Peace and love, everyone.